stood here in Inchtown and it is a feast. It's mad with people as well, but just so you can see behind me, it is just beautiful for inspiration of all sorts, shapes, colours. This is just one tiny little bit, and I've just fallen in love with these things just behind me. Aren't they cool? Anyway, I'm just going to take you on a little walk and do some ICM. It's all with my phone in here, just so it's like pretty inconspicuous and I can get it done quite quickly because it's so mad. So I hope you enjoy this. Okay. So what I thought I would actually do, having looked at these images, I thought I'm just going to actually whiz you through all of the images very quickly and just show you what I saw as I was walking around. What you're going to see is you're going to see the straight images and then the ICM or the creative images I created afterwards. And I'm just going to try and explain to you what I saw and my sort of thought process behind why I thought it might work for ICM or multiple exposure. So I just love, they have lots and lots of trees, and I just love the contrast between these beautiful white petals, leaves with all the things that were going on around it. When I use my ICM setting on the slow shutter cam, this was with the light trails out, but I loved how the gold came out here and the white became almost like sort of angel-like, and then you've got the green and the little lights in the background. I thought that worked really well. I took a second one which was slightly more to do with the lights and the gold shimmering, but it's still got the white and the pink, which I really like. Then I saw these, they're just sort of plasticky golden flower things. I quite like the shape of them, so I've got a wide shot, sorry, I've got a slightly closer shot and I've got a wide shot, and then I just had a play. Again, I had a play with the light trails on slow shutter cam. If I don't mention otherwise from now on, that's the setting I was using. I work between 2 and 4 seconds, just depending on what I was doing. And this one I just did a little shake, and this one I twisted the phone round just to get a circular movement. Then my eye fell on these bottles, random things, but I love the shape of these circles on the top. And then I decided I probably might need to be on top of them to work this one out. And this is what I created. Again, the silvers, the golds, the browns kind of can be used. I'm thinking this one probably more as a multiple exposure than an individual image on its own. Then I looked up in the ceiling, all these beautiful dried flowers, dried grasses with the lights up above it. And so I literally just use a downward movement to pull the lights down in like these little trails, and they work really well just depending on which way I was pointing. And I love the browns, the golds, the creams, the yellows that come through in this one. Again, there's a whole pile of wreaths and things like that, and I just love these red berries, and I wanted to get some red because it's a Christmassy colour. And I just gave it a little shake for about a second. And this one is a wreath with, is it mistletoe? I think it's fake mistletoe, not real. But I quite like the fact that it got some black in the background as well. And then I went for the whole thing. Almost looks like seaweed there. And then I just moved the camera a couple of times. This one actually, you can see my shadow in the top left, but I quite like the bluey colour that it's given to this. Again, this is probably more a background for a multiple exposure than an individual ICM that I would share on its own. Same again here. Then I fell in love with these. They're just spray painted leaves or something, but they look like spears, and I thought they were so cool. I just love the dynamic shapes they had. So I took a couple of images, straight images, which I think will be really nice to use in a multiple exposure. And then this is I got 2 lovely ICM images, and I just love the blues and the golds and the creams and the silvers and the movement that comes through from all the different textures. Then I saw some silver. You'll see these ones in the video. Excuse me. And I love the shape of these. And when you get the sort of, you can see all the different lights, the way the light shines on them. So when you put them through an ICM, that's a bit of a sort of close up zoom in. But when you use ICM, there's not really any direction to move, so you can move any way you want. So that was one, and that was completely different. Exactly the same object, I just moved in a different way, and I like this one. I think it kind of gives a feeling of snow and fluff. And ice, so I really like that one actually as on its own, but again it will probably make a really good multiple exposure option. Again, other things that caught my eye, just love these brown twigs with some more white on. Lovely reds again, thinking Christmas, red, sparkly. Anything that sparkles will give you lovely light trails when you start using the Light Trails app on the mobile phone. There's two of them there. And then my eye fell on this Christmas tree with the greens and the reds and the little lights that were in amongst it. So I had just a little play, sort of, I think, right to left movement here, and then a little circular movement here. Then my eye just fell on random things. This was like a material Christmas tree thing on the side. I just love the greens and the shapes. So again, it's something I'll use as a combination in something. This was a piece of wood. I just love the texture of it. And then I found this bowl, and these are all baubles, and so I just absolutely love this. So I took a few different images from different sort of standpoints related to this. I think they'll make great combination images. And then I had a play. I think this was actually at 4 seconds, so you get quite a lot of movement on this one. Slightly shorter shutter speed, so a little bit more detail. I just love the silvers and the blues. I mean, it's got some super colours coming out in here. Then my eye fell on these lovely vases. I just love these organic sort of shapes and colours, and I love the browns and the blues and the speckledy whites. That was a nice close-up, which I think would be super to use for something. Another one, and then that was the ICM that I took, which made the blues really come alive. Pile of plates. Who would have known it could make an ICM photo? But there you go. Again, on its own, it's all right, but it will make a super backdrop to a multiple exposure. I spotted some lights. You'll see the little video of me walking through the light area, and yeah, these were just some red ones that were shining, so I took a normal shot to start with, and then I had a play. So this one I didn't quite make the full circle because this was on 2 seconds, so then I put it on 4 seconds and really started playing. I was having a great time doing all these little movements and creating these really abstract images. Then my eye fell on these lovely glass balls with what was inside them, and it was just a tangle of gold strands and lights, and it was just super. ICM, I'm not sure how well it worked. It's a little bit bright, so I have to see what I can do with it, but I loved it. I think this would be really good as a to use for a multiple exposure. Then I saw these absolutely beautiful pieces of glass that had the little stars on, and had this sort of, I don't know, mottledy colour. You can see my reflection in it, which is giving the pink. But I just really like, these are all just straight shots. And then I did some ICM here, and I just loved how the light caught the colours. And that was actually the 3 jars on top of another 3. Then I saw these. I just love trees, so I thought that was really cool. The ICM didn't work so good, but I took some standard shots. This was actually a multiple exposure of 3 images. And then I looked up and there was some stars in the sky. As you can see, it was just like a feast for the senses, this. And so I had a little play with the ICM. I quite like that. It's a little bit different than your traditional Christmas stuff. Then I saw this light. Oh my goodness, I was just in heaven. Depending on where you stood, what I had to do was make sure that the light bulb was actually sitting behind one of these leaves at the front, and then I could work on that. So I took some close-up shots just to get the texture, and then I started playing with the ICM. I absolutely love this one. And that one, it kind of reminds me of the feathers in a sort of Indian's hat, headdress. Again, playing, this one was actually with the slow shutter speed app on the slow shutter cam, not the Light Trails app, which is a little bit softer. It gives you something a little bit more like you would get from your camera. More sparkly silver, gold shapes. Again, this one was not with the Light Trails app, but just with the slow shutter cam, shutter setting. You get this lovely soft detail. This one with the Light Trails, so exactly the same subject matter, but you can just see the difference depending on the setting you use. Again, I love it when you can get some black or some dark behind it, and this was shooting towards the floor. And then my eye just falls on shapes and forms and things that I can just think about using as multiple exposures later. Then I saw these lights, and what I saw in these lights was this super circular edge to these lights. And so the following are images. These are just straight images which have such a beautiful texture. I just love this for the gold and the richness. I think it's super. And then I had a little play with the ICM. It wasn't super successful because the white light was just so bright. This one actually removed the light to get something a little bit more abstracty. Excuse me. Then, yeah, only in Holland do you get things like this, I think, in your Christmas trees. I have no idea, but I love them. These sort of green, fluffy tulip things. So then I went playing with these, some close shots, some back shots, detail shots, and then I started playing with the ICM. And I absolutely love ICMing things like this. You can get some beautiful textures going on. Not necessarily Christmassy, but, you know, you can use them towards like a collection within the Christmas. These were some that weren't quite so bright, exactly the same sort of idea. These are some slightly duller feathers, and you could see them in the Christmas tree with these. I don't know, are they awful, these birds? I'm not sure. Anyway, they're quite cute, I guess. And then I did some ICM of that Christmas tree with the shapes in there. A little bit more playing with the feathers. Then I have spotted these again. I just love the textures and I love green. So I'm not so keen on the plastic bit in the middle, but the rest of it around the edge was really, really lovely. I quite like the ICM that I did there. I think the ICM is much nicer than the straight shots. Then, because they don't just do red, gold and green here, they do pink and blue. So this was just shooting up into the ceiling just to show you what I was going to photograph. And then I zoomed in, not very good quality photo, but again, just showing you what I was looking at. The thing to take away here is the ICMs, and I love these ICMs. I think they're absolutely super, and I'd have these just as sort of straight ICMs. This one was the ICM without this is the slow shutter, not the light trail setting. Same with this one and this one, you get a softer effect. These are just some more flowers. When I can get a nice dark background, I quite like taking things like this because it gives you a bit of texture and a bit of sort of objects to put in. Then I found this lovely vase cover which had these super gold and bronze shapes on them. This was a multiple exposure of 3. I just turned the camera as I went. Same with this one here. And then I shot through one of the holes. You'll see me doing it in the video. I shot through one of the holes and got these sort of slightly abstract-y results. So that is a very, very quick whiz through. Now I'm going to, I hope you enjoyed that, just so that you can see what my eye sees and why I think of things and the way I think about them. I'm not going to edit all of these. I am probably going to pick 2 or 3 to just walk you through on maybe a multiple exposure, so you can just see what I might do and how I might choose what I'm going to work with. So we're going to go on to that now. So the first one we're going to have a look at for a multiple exposure, I've pulled up a few just along the top here that I'm going to have a play with. So the first 2 we're going to choose are this one. I just love the texture of this one, and it's actually a non-ICM image that I'm going to try combining first. So those of you who have seen how this works normally, I'm just going to walk you through it basically the first time and then probably just do it and just show you it happening afterwards. So if you've not done this before, you need to select both your images in Lightroom, right click and go down to editing, and then you need to pick the one that says editing as open as layers in Photoshop, because then what it does is it brings it into Photoshop as 2 layers next to each other. It's already sort of created the combining element that you're going to be working on, whereas if you bring them through separately you then need to put them together. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say that I really like the ICM and I'm going to use the ICM as my base image. So I just need to slide it down to the bottom because then I'm going to add the gold on top. So the first, you just need to make sure that you've selected the top one that you want to work with. And the first thing I normally do is have a look at normal, because that's basically just saying half and half. And this actually works quite nicely. I really quite like that, just by doing that. 25% opacity of the little lights on top, and you'll already have something really fun. You can place it up a little bit and bring the lights out, but then I find it starting to overtake the ICM. So when I'm playing with the different blends modes, I do tend to put the top one up to 100%. And I just quite often, somebody said, how do you decide which one? I just run through and see if I like something. I quite like that. It's given me the effect. I really like that one. I think I prefer that to what we just created, because I think it holds both of them really strong. This one's super for the richness and the blues. I absolutely love that one. And that one again, I think that one's just a little bit strong. So there's two options here. We could go up here and just bring it back a little bit. I think I'm going to stick with that because I really like that. So very simple. I've used overlay mode 67%. At this point, I'm not going to mess about with these too much. So I'm going to put layer and I'm going to flatten the image, because otherwise you take two images through and save two images. You end up saving massive files. So I'm just going to say file and save. And if you've just come out of Lightroom, what you will do is you will see it pop back into Lightroom next to one of the images you've used. So we now have the three here. Okay, the next one I'm going to work on, we're whizzing through these. The next one I really liked was this texture. And again, we're going to work on a non-ICM image. I have no idea whether these are going to work, guys, as I'm doing them with you. Basically, what I'm looking for is contrast. So in this one, we had this lovely softness and sort of movement. And this one, we had some sharp, we had some really warm colours versus cooler colours. We had some detail versus softness. And the same with this one. We've got lots and lots of movement and energy. And then you've got some kind of formality. And I love all these dots. So let's have a look and see whether this one works. Editing, opens layers in Photoshop. And we're going to take it through. I'm going to see if I have as good a hit rate on this one. I have no idea. Again, I'm going to put the ICM on the bottom because I just want to add some detail to it and just see what happens. Again, let's just have a look at the opacity. No, it's just all wishy-washy. It's a bit of a mess. So I'm going to have a play with these, and it's a personal choice as to what you like, the effects you like. This isn't working as well as the last one, I don't think, for detail. That's quite nice. It's a little bit grungy. I like that one better because you keep the silver elements in here. Sometimes difference and exclusion are fun to play with. I'm just going to do that and see on the opacity what I can create. Looks as though it's got like silver sparkles coming through there now, doesn't it? Or does it just look as a bit sandy? No, that's not doing it for me. I think I quite liked that one, overlay. And I think I quite like it 100%, although let's just check. About there. Yeah, we're going there. Okay, this is just a very quick run through to show you. So flatten image, file, save, and again it's going to go back into Lightroom. It depends on what I'm actually doing this for as to how much time I take over these things. I really like this one. Again, I quite like the stars, and I have no idea how this is going to work when I bring these two. So I'm bringing two ICMs in this time in together and going to see. Now, for a start, the lines are going in the wrong way. So I'm going to, and one's a portrait and one is a landscape image. So I'm going to have to change something around. I like this one as the base. So I'm just going to put view and make sure I can see the whole thing by fitting it on the screen. And then I'm going to take this one and pop it on top. Okay, and then what I'm actually going to do is I am actually going to just turn it round so that it fits the other one. I'm not too worried. Stars are stars. It doesn't really matter too much at what angle they're in. And now they sit quite nicely on top of each other. So I'm not sure how this light's going to work here, but we'll have a look and see. It may not work at all. It may be, that's quite nice. It may be that what I need to do, I quite like that actually, because the way that the blend mode worked, it's given this lovely, lovely rich colour. If I just take it back, yeah, I quite like that. That's quite nice. Now, so I didn't want some of this. What you can do is, let's just zoom out. I like to be able to see the edges of my things that I'm pulling around. You could, by taking hold of the edges, make it slightly bigger. So I'm just going to bring that down maybe like that. Okay. And I tend to do all my cropping and things in Lightroom. Also, you could see I'm a bit of a stickler for keeping things upright. So actually, I'd like to correct that and make sure that upright was actually upright in here before I take it back. So, and then just make it slightly bigger so it fills up the whole picture. And that's how you bring. So you need to just make sure you choose which image you want on the bottom. Then you need to decide whether you want to just spread one out or move it or turn it until it's ready. So I'm just going to, again, layer, flatten the image. I'm really sorry if this is a bit of a whiz through, but hopefully you're getting the gist of how I'm making these decisions, just to run you through as many as possible, really. So, and like I say, when I get these things, then this is where I quite often do my cropping and my decision making. So we're going to keep this as a 4x6. You want to get rid of all the stuff that's rubbish there. I think probably there is good. There we go. And we've got a bit too much exposure. So I'm just going to drop that down here and do the editing in here. So that's pretty good. Okay. And I think I had another one here ready to go. Yeah, I was intrigued to try. I'm going to bring 3 through this time and just see what we can do. We've got the vase here. We've got the gold, and we're going to take, I think we'll take through the ICM. So let's take through that one, and that one. And you can take through as many as you want. You don't have to choose just 2. You can choose as many as you want. So this one going through. Yeah. Now I've got to make sure I decide which one I want on the bottom, because this is a bit tricky. I think my gold one is actually the most important because I love the colour of the gold. So I'm just going to see if I can add some texture and colour over the top. So we're going to go with this white one first. And I'm just going to see what I can... This works super because it gives this lovely shape. Or if you go that way, it looks sort of almost like... I really like that, actually. Really, really like that. I'm not a stickler to sit to a specific blending mode, but I really quite like that. And that would be... I would be quite happy with that as one on its own. But let's just pop this one on top and just see what we can do with this. Oh, you need to make sure you're obviously on the one you want to work with. Otherwise, you won't be able to see any difference. And I really like this because it's now this I quite like that. Gives this lovely rich colour and a hint of colour. That one's super. Looks almost like a Aboriginal piece of art. Again, it's personal choice as to what you like. I love that because it's got blues and golds in it. This is not having quite such effect, but it looks like snow now. I quite like that because it's so rich and also matches some of the others. So if I was making a set, I might go with the same editing style. That's quite cool. Difference. Yeah, these are kind of funky. I quite like that, actually. Now, if you like a lot and you can't make a choice, my suggestion would be to save them all. So we're going to go layer and flatten this. Okay. And we're going to go file and save. Okay. And that one's going to go straight back into Lightroom. Now, I want to save this as a different one. So I'm just going to go back up here and go back to before I flatten the image. And it was just the blending mode that I wanted to change and see on this one. I really liked that. I really like that one, but maybe just not quite so strong. Although it doesn't have the same power when it's not so strong. That one maybe. Oh, so much choice to make here. Yeah, you see when you take it off 100%, it doesn't have the same power, but that's just a bit too strong for me. So let's have a look. I'm going to make another one of these because it matches with the other ones. So again, you want to go layer, flatten image. And this time you need to make sure you save it as, because if you just save it, it will save over the last one. And I've already got a place where I'm saving my images, and I'm going to save it, and it's called edit. So it's going to be a second one in here, I think. So, oh no, we don't want to do that. We're going to go edit one then, because we've got 2. And what will happen is you will see they will actually both come back in. So there's the first one and there's the second one. So very, very quickly, that was a little set of images that I've just combined there very, very quickly for you, just to show the opportunities you have for multiple exposures. And you can just see you can make very quickly some really, really cool ones. I think that top right one is kind of the odd one out here. So if I was making a set, there's your set. I think it's really, really super. I mean, they're rich. They make fantastic Christmas cards. And I think it's a wonderful way to really enjoy, you know, going and having a play. And honestly, I was out there for half an hour, just having an experiment. Anything that caught my eye, I just played with. It was on my phone. These are all phone photos. There are nothing that's come off my camera at all, which are absolutely fine. When you start layering them, they're all going to be 2, 3 megabytes. That's more than enough if you're going to be doing things like cards or putting them on Facebook or on a blog. If you want to start printing them out, you need to start being a little bit careful. But I absolutely love what I've just created. So I really hope you enjoyed that walkthrough. It does seem like I've gone, blah, 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 so I apologise for that. Those of you doing the festive challenge, I hope that gives you some festive ideas, and I really look forward to seeing your creativity. So really, really push for this last one. And if you enjoy it, please give me a thumbs up. Do follow me. Do share it if you think other people would enjoy it. And I'd love to see your comments if you think I'm absolutely nuts going to a garden centre and photographing. Last time I did something like this, I think I had quite a following going out to garden centres, and it made me smile a lot. So do let me know how you get on. And yeah, I look forward to seeing and speaking to you again.